Okay, so we're recording. Hey guys, today's call is the 23rd of March. The beginning of the call, we're going to go over some quick mindset practices that we talk about called the six-pack. Guys and girls that are on the phone, have you played with the six-pack? Do you know much about the six-pack? And if so, before I go into it, tell me what you're doing with the six-pack and how it's affecting you. Jeff, if you shook your head, yeah, open up and tell us what you've been doing.
I think the most important thing has been the nightly review for me, and that's kind of been something that I was missing. It's that nightly review of what I did for the day, and it just helps me kind of stay the course. So, the positive things that I did stay there, and the things that I need to work on, I can move forward with them. That's kind of one of the most important things for me.
Sure. Vince, you too?
Yeah, for sure. The nightly review part. I've been trying to it's definitely made a huge difference. I mean, yeah, finishing up the day and just getting back into it. It's cool seeing that review of, all right, what got done, what didn't get done tomorrow, what's on the diet. Just that peace of mind at the end of the day to know, like, all right, cool. Yep. Here's all the stuff that got done. Here's what I need to get done tomorrow was pretty cool. The visualization part too, the mental theater, just kind of zoning in. It's cool that it's kind of come around now where I just consistently think about, all right, it's the putting out the love and belief, figuring out how to create that loving energy and keep creating belief. So that's been the cool part for the mental theater, is just trying to keep wrapping around that. The more I've brought awareness to it on a daily basis, the more that's kind of like what's been the theme now over the last couple of weeks is just, I love everything in the one word. So the love part, create that energy, and the belief, so that's really helped of the consistent of the mental theater stuff is really sharpening that focus on that part.
Sure. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the meditation. So Brian and I have been working a lot with a six-pack with individuals. And what we have found is that it's all good, right? And it works when we're consistent with the six-pack. So the six-pack is 6 mindset steps that you guys can do in no particular order, right? So you don't have to do one before the other and things like that. It's just 6 specific tools that help kind of clarify and kind of dig into your subconscious so that, that other chatter or the bound nature feelings, when they pop up, how to react to them, and so that they don't pop up so often. So today, I'm just going to go over quickly. I'm going to go over the six-pack. I don't know if we're going to have the entire time to dive into every part of the six-pack, and if we don't, we will next time. But interrupt me during while I'm doing this. Raise your hand if you have any questions, because there's so much that goes into the six-pack that if you have questions on, let me answer them for you. Because like I said, in the past month or so, we've really been dissecting it into individual businesses and how it's affected that person in their business with their schedule, with their production. And it's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So I haven't spoken to you guys so much about it that are on this call right now. Jeff, I have Helgi and Vince, but I would love to hear more about how the specific one is helping you when I talk about it. So in no particular order, the first one we're going to say is meditation. Number 1 in the six-pack is meditation. And meditation can be anything that you guys want it to be. It doesn't have to be, sit there and count your breaths. It doesn't have to be sit there and, say a mantra. Meditation is just simply sitting still and taking that time for yourself and just chilling out, right? meditation is an effortless thing, right? Always, someone explained to me that meditation is like the ocean, and the waves on the ocean are your thoughts, right? And there's always going to be waves on the ocean, right? So you're always going to have thoughts during meditation. But the deeper you get into the ocean, the less you feel those waves, right? So the deeper you get into the meditative state, the less you have those thoughts. Now, those thoughts still come and go, but when we try not to think, of those thoughts, we start to think of those thoughts even more, right? So that's where, we talk a lot about, and I've studied a great deal about meditation with monks and a lot of other people. And a common thing when we start to put the effort into meditation, meaning when we start to not think about the thoughts that we're thinking about, we tend to think more about those thoughts, right? So in life, a lot of us talk about putting the effort into something to get it done, right? So when we're creating our programs, when we're coaching our clients, we have to put the effort into it so that they can see a result. In meditation, this one part of your life is effortless. So when you sit there, don't go into the meditation expecting an outcome, right? So if you're thinking about it as an ocean, and you're thinking about either you're not deep into the ocean because you have all of these thoughts in your head, so you're shallow in there, right? Because you feel the waves, it doesn't matter. Because if you're in the ocean meditating, right? So meditation and ocean, same thing, you're getting wet. So don't expect to always go deep into that meditation. You just consistently do the effortless meditation so you get wet. Some days are going to be really great. Some days are not. Some weeks are going to be really great. Some weeks are not. Most of you guys have children. When Jill and I meditate, one big thing that we make sure that we do is tell the other person and tell the kids. I know, Vince, your daughter's super young, but tell your kids, don't bother mommy and daddy at this time because we're meditating. Explain it to them. Because one big thing that I found when I first started teaching people how to meditate is I wouldn't tell them that part, and they would go and meditate, and their kids or their husband would walk in the room and be like, "Mom, honey," and she'd be like, "Fuck, I can't even fucking meditate. Are you kidding?" And then it would blow up, and lots of bad nature would come in. So communicating the meditation as in real life is a super important thing. So that you can actually effortlessly, I can't express the effortlessness enough of it, which has been the hardest part for me, right? Because when I first started meditation, I was like, okay, I need to meditate, I need to focus, right? Get it down, I'm gonna sit down at this time, 20 minutes, screw everything else, I'm gonna make sure I don't have any thoughts. And then when I do have a thought, I'm gonna be on that thought, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go back to this, and I'm not gonna have any more thoughts. And that would happen, and I would get headaches during meditation. And I talked to a monk one time, and he said, you have headaches during the meditation because you're stressing out during the meditation. Meditation is to calm your body down, right? To get rid of the monkey mind, right? That's what they call it. They call it monkey mind, right? Our brains are all over the place. We have a million things going on. A lot of people call it flow state, right? If you're in a flow of something, right, you don't have a million things going on, right? And usually the studies are showing when people are interviewed about this flow state, it's effortless. They just do it, right? So one of the main things of meditation that I want you guys to get away from this talk is effortlessly do it. Have no expectation. Don't think of a result, right? Usually we're lifting weights, we want a result. We're playing hockey, we want results. Don't expect a result. Just do it. You don't meditate for the time of meditation. You meditate for what happens after meditation. Does that make sense? Right? Because during the meditation, if you're expecting that result, or if you're expecting to be enlightened and all of that jazz, if that's what you're into, that's not what meditation or silence or praying or any of that is about. It's about how you react after in your daily life because of the calmness that you've just done at that point. So mindset practice number 1, meditation. I do it. I try to do my best twice a day, 20 minutes. I took a hiatus for a long time on it, and it wasn't that, no one's perfect, right? So if you miss a day, or if you miss a week, or if you miss a month, listen, you're not perfect. Just try and slowly get back to it. I try to do 2 times a day for 20 minutes. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, that's one of the things too that I've implemented in as well, is that, the way the mind is, right, it's awareness. It's just a daily reminder. So one of the things that dealing with our students, and even I use it myself, is that even if I do 10 breaths once in that 24-hour period and I didn't get it done, those 10 breaths took, a minute, 2 minutes, but that day I came back to it and it was still beneficial. So that's the part that I always hammered away, that even if you're doing it that one time, you put in the 10 breaths, that's still better than just waiting. And if you don't do it all the different days, because there's no excuse for not being able to do 1 or 2 minutes. And that's kind of like the idea, to make it where even that one daily reminder makes a huge shift. And so that was one of the things that picked up on with it, of where every little bit, right, that continuous improvement, even if I do it for that minute, 10 breaths, I'm golden. I reminded you. So that's a big part too, is that 20 minutes and all that stuff, it's great. But if you chunk it down too, like one of the things I teach with the guys is that 10, 20 breaths in the morning, 10, 20 in the afternoon, 10, 20 at night. By the end of the day, you're putting in a solid 10 minutes, if you look at it. So you can break it up, you can play with it. The whole point is just to keep coming back to learning the art of relaxing, calming. And then the other thing too, I always point out, is that realize with it too, is the focus factor. I don't think there's enough emphasis put into that, is that it's cool how much you calm, but it's also how much it teaches you to focus too, of zoning in. And that's a part that I've noticed with the athletes, is to point that out. Yes, there's one level of calming, but the other side is that you learn deep focus too from doing that as time goes on, and the noise and all that chatter and all that stuff breaks away. But
what's beautiful about that, when he says the focus, is that focus comes passively during the meditation. Right? It's not something that you're straining to do during the meditation. It's something that habitually over time happens during the meditation. And so my life motto, right, is always do better the next day, right? So if that day I fall short on the meditation, it's okay. Tomorrow is another day where I step up to the plate again and I do better. So very important. It's helped me a lot. It's helped a lot of people I know a lot. It's helped out my wife a lot, who, sleeps much better when she meditates, lives life much better, because we live in a chaotic world, right? And it's stressful and a lot of shit happens, but you need to take that time for yourself. It's important. Again, in no particular order, mindset, part of the 6-pack. Number 2 is your mental cinema. And this has been around for a really long time. And if you guys, I don't know if you've ever, I know Camellia brought it up in a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And there's a lot of studies on this mental cinema. And it can be done in a lot of different parts, right? So it could be done where you sit down, you close your eyes, and third person, you're watching yourself on the video screen do what you want to do, right? How you want to do it. And you're seeing yourself doing these things, whether it's your perfect day, whether it's scoring a goal, whatever it is, you're picturing yourself doing it over and over again. The other way is in first person, where it's in your mind's eye, that you're visualizing yourself doing that thing. And the importance of this is, I know that you guys know all the studies that have gone out in this and with Olympic athletes and stuff. And I used to think it was kind of like hoopla of, they have these studies and people are visualizing sprinting and their muscles are firing and all this stuff. And it's true. The plasticity in your brain actually moves. They have studies that show all of this stuff. However, this is one of the most important parts of the consistency part of this. If you're not all in and practice on the consistency part of this part of the mindset practice, then it can be for shits and giggles, right? It can be for something that's not. Because what happens is, if you can't picture it and do it and actually follow through with what you're doing in the cinema, right? Does that make sense? If you can't practice and follow through with what you're doing in the cinema. So if you're in your mind's eye, or if you're sitting down thinking, okay, I'm watching this on the cinema, and you're focused here, and then things keep changing all around all of the time, it never gets better because you stopped, right? Consistency, that zeroes in onto focusing on actually and being clear of actually what you want. That's a huge thing with the mental cinema, is being clear on what you want. So if you want to score a goal, right, you got to be clear that you're scoring the goal when. Or if you want your perfect day, write your perfect day out first, then put that into the cinema. Clarity is super important when it comes to the cinema piece. And it can change and we're dynamic, absolutely. But clarity is very important, because without the clarity structure of the cinema, we become like the squirrel that sees a shiny object. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I think the thing that I used to struggle with in this instance was the meditation and the mental cinema, trying to put it into one package, and that's just it. It didn't work. So it got really confusing. So I think when I saw the separation, it was pretty neat. And the other thing that I've read is the difference between mental cinema in third person and first person. If you're working with athletes in skill-based, first person has to be technically sound. Third person is more of a visual of kind of, if more of the situation, more of like a tactical situation. First person is more of a skill-based type, where technique has to be absolutely perfect.
And when it comes to the first person and things like that, I've read a big part of the actual fruition of all of that is, one, obviously believing that this is going to happen, and two, really having the feelings and all of the different sensations during that time. On a personal level, I have not gone that deep into that part of the cinema. However, when I do the third person cinema and see, and listen, I think we've all probably done it without knowing we've done it, and things have come to fruition without us even like realizing that this happened, right? So this is kind of just the tool, and I'm sure you've all used the tool before without knowing you were using the tool, right? It's kind of like I want that watch, and you're like every like fifth day you see the watch, right? And later on you had the money to buy the watch type deal, right? That's the mental cinema. However, what we're talking about is like the mental cinema on steroids. Like, this is the focus in on it so that it really does, and it's intently coming to action, right? Not by just chance, right? Like, you're intently doing this stuff. Anybody have any questions on that? third part is reviewing your intentions. What do you want? I believe that this is probably one of the most important parts of any tool that you can possibly have, right? Viewing the intention of what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, you're not gonna take the actions to do this. You're not gonna take the actions to get to where you want to go. So, what do you want is kind of like your identity, right? You guys have done the avatars of who you want to be, right? So it should go your identity, your avatar of what you want, the clarity, and then the actions below that then relate to a feeling. What happens most times is people have a feeling, right? Community is going to laugh when I say this, but I say fuck feelings, right? Because there's a feeling and you're like, oh man, I don't feel good. So then you're like, take action on the not feeling good or not wanting to do that thing. And then that turns into your identity. I'm lazy. Like, I'm unorganized. And that's when that story builds. Instead of first, you build the story, you build the identity, and then you take action. And then you really become that thing, right? But first, that all starts with reviewing the intention every day so that it stays top of mind. A lot of times, in my opinion, people don't reach the intention or the goal because they don't have that intention of the identity of whatever that clarity is on top of their mind all of the time. They forget to remember. They forget to remember what they want. So if you want to be a success in whatever it is, there's specific things that you need that you know you need to do. So when it's rainy outside and the blues are all over the place, those are feelings, right? And everybody has feelings. We're gonna have the feelings, but don't react to the feeling. You react to the identity of what you want. Does that make sense? Jeff, does that make sense, buddy?
Yeah, that's the part that I struggle with the most.
Yeah. So the part that he struggles with the most, right, is there's a feeling and then an action, right? Where if you just flip that, right, because that's a story, right? The story is, I struggle with it. The story is, and I'm not picking on you, Jeff. This is just in general, right? The story is, I'm unorganized. You know, my wife cooks bad food. That's why I'm fat. Like, those are, later, Vince. Those are stories, right? And then if we don't have the clarity of the identity of what we want, we fall victim to those stories. And then those stories then, right, it's just like a habit. So then if you're habitually doing that thing, then you're getting better at it, meaning that story is growing harder and stronger in your unconscious. It's the same thing, opposite result that you want, right? So it's the same way of digging and kind of the repetitiveness of the story, but you're telling yourself the wrong story. Does that make sense? I would say you should absolutely review the intention every day for like 5 to 10 minutes. Breaking it down, really reviewing it, really understanding it, but making sure that you do it all of the time. And one way people say to do it is to journal. People, if you journal every day, then do that. However, I don't journal, but I do sticky note. So if I have a specific intention that I want, there's sticky note, right? So I know, boom, okay, if I have 15 minutes here, I'm going to do something that's going to row my boat closer to this instead of doing something different. Mindset tool number 4 of the 6-pack. Camila, do you have a question? is recognition. I call this my debriefing, and it is, what did you do today that was great? At the end of the day, what did you do today that was great? I personally used to have a very hard time with this, because I was always looking for the next mountain to climb, or not giving recognition to the things that I did that were awesome. And those awesome things are little things like, I don't know, you gave your kids a hug that day. That's a pretty awesome thing, right? They don't have to be monumental, lightning strike you in your face things every day, right? Most people think that in order to have life change, you have to get hit by a lightning bolt. You do not. But maybe recognize the great things that are happening in your life, because so many times we think life is hard, or life isn't good, or I'm so stressed out, I have all these things, I'm feeling super overwhelmed. Okay, at that moment, but what are the good things that actually happen that day? Because we can go and have an amazing day, right? Be super productive, super effective, help a lot of people, but at the end of the day, the shit could hit the fan, right? And all we focus on is the bad thing that happened. We don't remember the good thing that happened. And we're like, oh man, I can't believe this happened today. What a shitty day. But it wasn't a shitty day. You did pretty awesome things that day. And recognizing the awesome things that you did that day really help you towards the end of the day. I hope that makes sense. Mindset practice number 5 in the 6-pack is what you guys were talking about earlier, is prepping for the next day. Looking over the schedule that you have for the next day and knowing what you want to do that day, the day prior, is super important. Now, I'm going to tell a story because I like telling stories. I didn't think that that was super important. And I thought that that was just like a hogwash kind of thing, right? Like, I can wake up early and I could totally figure out my day that morning and be fine. And I did that for a really long time because I thought that people that were searching for something were doing that, right? People that needed help were doing that. But the people that were uber successful in my mind that I wanted to model, I didn't think were doing that until I asked them if they did that. And they did. And they might not have done it in the way that you do it, but they do it. They actually sit down at the end of the day and have a list of things that need to get done tomorrow. And they say, okay, blah, 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 this is what we're going to do. Some people plan it out. Some people don't plan it out. Some people have their secretary do it. Some people have it. It doesn't matter how it's structured or formatted. What matters is that it's done and it's planned and prepped for the next day. And why is that important? It's important for many different reasons. One of the biggest reasons why it's important is so that at that time in the night, right, it gives you a little bit of peace of mind for the next day. So that you're not just monkey-brained while you're sleeping about what you have to do the next day, right? I used to think all I would have to do is when I had a thought in my head, write it down, and then it would be fine. However, it's a game changer when you actually prep for the next day. And listen, of course, with everything, you can be dynamic because things happen, but you should know what needs to get done that next day so that you're prepared. It's all about preparation. In any sport, in any business, things in life, right? Food prep, any prep. Preparation is so important, so important. And the last part of the 6-pack is triggers. I use cue cards, just regular cards like this, and you write down triggers that are important to you. So if your intention is score 5 goals in the next 5 weeks, put that on the cue card. 5 goals, 5 weeks. And have that cue card in your pocket or wherever you can see it. I use the sticky notes, right? And it's the same thing as keeping the intention top of mind, except that if you have this cue card on you always, and you feel it, and you touch it, and you look at it, you become aware of it. Now, a lot of times what happens with cue cards is people get used to the cue card and ignore it, right? So it can stay in your pocket. It could be anything, right? But what happens is it's been in the pocket for so long, or it's been in front of our face for so long, we ignore it and we kind of just brush by it. The important part of the trigger is to actually be aware of that trigger and hone in and focus and actually take the 2 seconds that it takes to read the trigger. Because in real life, it takes about 2 seconds to read that. And if you're so busy you can't take 2 seconds to read a trigger, you're lying to yourself. Or if you can't take 2 seconds to actually focus on the intention, it's a lie to yourself, and that's a story, right? Because it takes no time at all. But the important part about this is that you actually take the time to do that thing. So the triggers only work if you read the triggers and are focused in on the triggers. The next day prep only works is if during that time you're focused and present preparing for the next day. And it doesn't take a long time, but that only takes a few minutes. The recognition only works if you take the time and are present during that stuff. And all of this stuff, all of these 6-pack of tools work amazingly in every part of our lives as long as we do them. When we stop doing them, they stop working. It's just like every other tool that you have. It's just like every other thing that you have. If you stop doing that thing, it stops working, right? What does it say? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? And listen, the 6-pack is great. It's awesome. Every one of these 6 tools are great. However, if you don't use all of those 6 tools every day, it's okay. It's okay. But I would say pick the ones that you're intensely focused on and use those at the beginning. And then slowly layer the other ones on. Because sometimes the 6-pack, if you put all 6 in a day, it's like I have to schedule this out, we become overwhelmed, and then we're not present during the times that we're supposed to be using the tools that are going to make our life better. So that's the 6-pack. I'll just really quickly go over in no particular order. Is meditation, the mental cinema, reviewing the intentions, making sure that they're on top of mind. What do you want? Recognition of the good things that happen that day. Next day prep, and 6 being the triggers. Those are the 6-packs. If you have any questions, let me know.
Gary, that was great. And I'm going to just build upon what you said about they're all important, but they only work if you do them. But you also need to find a way to do them that works for you. Right? We can all tell you ways to do things, and we can all give you suggestions, but until you make it work the way it works for yourself, you'll never be consistent in it. And that's what's key, is the consistency part of it. So do them, absolutely, but find a way that works for yourself.
I think Camellia brings up the greatest point of anything, of any tool, of any system, of anything like worth that takes maybe a little effort to do, is find the one that you're going to do. Because if you don't find the one that you're going to do that works for you, then you're going to be searching for another 6-pack or another organizational thing or whatever. Find the one that works for you and do that one, because that works. That's the one that you're going to stick to. It's like the calendar, right? What calendar do I use? I don't use try this one, fit it into your life, see if that works. And if that works, great. When it stops working, do a different one. But use the one that works, right? My system works for me. It doesn't work for Camellia. Camelia's works for her. Jeff's works for his. Helgi's works for him. Find the one that works for you and do that one. That's the biggest thing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Facilitation, teaching this to other people. Is there the way that I look at it is everything kind of centers around clarity and the intentions. And would that be where you start with somebody, is obviously getting their intentions and then adding these things in?
You go, Camellia, first. Ladies first.
I think so, because without intention, nothing else is really clear. And you want the clarity, you want to know the direction and the actions that you take. And by adding in the mental cinema and adding in the meditation for focus and being able to prep for the next day, that all gets layered into whatever it is that your intentions are. You know, who is it that you want to be and why do you want to do that? So yeah, I think intentions is a great place to start, keeping in mind, you know, intentions will change. You know, have a starting point, but never tell somebody that, all right, these are your intentions and for the next 90 days, this is what we're going to do. Say, these are your intentions and we're going to work towards these. Because in a week, it could change, right? So never lock somebody in because that gives them stress. But at least having a plan, you know, having an intention creates a map. And if you have a map, you know what road to follow. And if you know what road to follow, you're going to end up where you want to be. So I think intentions is a great place to start.
In my opinion, Camellia is 100% correct. One thing that I would just add to that is when I start with people, I've started with all of you guys. When I start with people on specific things, I like to find out where they are, right? When you're facilitating an intention and you're just for numbers sake, right? So this is not truth. This is just so that we can measure this. Starting where you are, if you come and you're minus $200 in debt and in 6 weeks you want to be a millionaire, right? That's a cool intention, right? However, you have to know where you are because the likelihood of that intention being real is not very likely, right? So facilitating an intention and facilitating the tools to people is starting in the foundation of where are you now? And then these tools bridge the gap to where they want to go. And you don't have to dwell on the where are you now, but it's good to know where are you now. Because you don't want to stay there if, in fact, you don't. Or you want to just layer on.
Well, the where you are is very important in creating the map to get to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Depending on where you are, you're going to have different directions or roads to take. So the where you are is hugely important.
Yeah, I think so. Especially when you're starting to facilitate it all.
Good question, Jeff. Anything else?
That's a great question. No one else? Okay.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. And if you guys and anyone listening has any other questions about the six-pack, send me a message. Let's talk about it because the vocabulary of things can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And that's okay, right? But one thing that we don't want to get caught up on is the complexity of things, because everything that I just ran through, meditation, mental cinema, triggers, all of this stuff could be complicated if you let it. However, it's a simple thing. And a lot of it is common sense, but not common practice, right? So common sense, but not common practice is a big thing.
Well, and I think it's like you said earlier, we do a lot of this subconsciously anyway, but bringing it to the forefront and making it more intentional gets it more proactive too.
Yeah. And I think that you get the result quicker, right? A funny thing, I was on Monday night, I had to go, Jill bought me a new gym bag at TJ Maxx, and I didn't like it. So I went to return it, and I went to Sports Authority right after to get one that I liked. So the reason I tell you that is because I'm literally thinking this as I'm walking through TJ Maxx is I was focused on exactly where I wanted to go. My intention was to go return the gym bag. Like, it wasn't to go shopping and touch this and do this and look around. It was boom. And I thought to myself, man, like, I got to teach this. I'm focused. My intention right now is to go return this gym bag. I went in, boom, returned the gym bag, got out. It was like a 30-second thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to Sports Authority. My intention is to get this new gym bag and get out. And boom, that's exactly what I did. And in all of these places, there are silver squirrels all around you that you can stop and touch and try on and do all this stuff. But I got everything done so much quicker because I had an intention going in, right? Like, I knew my roadmap. And there was also an intention afterwards. Like, I didn't want to spend too much time there because I had to get my run in for the night. So I wanted to make sure I got in and got out to do the other thing or be the person that I wanted to be that day. Right? So there's an intent goal. I wanted to do it, but I still wanted to be the person that I wanted to be that day. Does that make sense? Totally. Sounds kind of silly as I say it out loud. And then I'm even like thinking that. And then I'm actually thinking those thoughts in my head in the middle of TJ Maxx.
It's a great example. It just shows what intention and focus can do, even when you're shopping. But I can't picture you in a TJ Maxx.
No, I hate shopping. I hate it. Like, you guys know Costco? Jill, my wife, goes to Costco for milk, right? For milk, right? I break out in hives thinking about Costco, right? My kids laugh because they're like, Daddy, you would have not liked Costco today. There are too many people for you there. Like, I can't handle that stuff. But if I do have to go do it, I'm intentional about getting the fuck out of there as quickly as I can because I don't like it. But it's the same thing, right? All comes down to like the focus of what you want at that time.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.